Oh god, I can just throw Molotov cocktails. And it's fire damage. So I'm just doing this. Blow up! Oh god. You all gonna die. Alright, this weapon is awesome. Welcome to the first press start of 2024, your weekly gaming news and gaming drip, so you can see everything going on in the world of gaming. I'm your host, Monkeychow. With New Year came new sickness, but you know what's great about having a cold, folks? The power of video editing. You're not even gonna notice. So we're gonna have some fun, folks. We got a lot to talk about today, so let's jump on into the gaming news and see what's buzzworthy for the first week of 2024. Every year, new things are added into the public domain. This means you're not going to get sued off your butt if you start using some of the IP or copyright that's out there. And in 2024, the House of the Mouse original Steamboat Willie ended up in the public domain. Since it's in the public domain, anyone can do what they want with the IP. And what kinds of things can show up in the IP? Well, stuff like this. Yep, that's Boo. So what did they do with the House of Mouse? They made him into a horror co-op game. The game is called Infestation Origins. It's going to be a 4-player co-op where you've got this infestation of rats and you're trying to exterminate them all and take a guess who the big baddie is that's going to be chasing you around all over the place. This game's going to release in 2024, looks to be an absolute blast, but it wasn't much of a surprise the moment that he ended up in the public domain, so be prepared for horror movies, games, and the like. Coming out with the original Steamboat Willie, it's going to be a fine line, folks. I don't know how it's going to be tread. Time to have some fun in Infestation Origins. So a little bit of story time, folks. When I did the WoW beta back in 2004, and yes, I know that just aged myself, there were a couple of other MMOs at the time were just as fun as WoW, but met a different genre. 2004 was the year of the superheroes. Superhero films were getting big, so a game came out called City of Heroes. You were able to create any type of superhero you wanted. Want Hulk with laser eyes? Go for it. I made some crazy ones back then, but I just don't have any video or film of all the insane types of heroes that I made at the time, but it was a lot of fun. You could run around Paragon City doing different types of quests, walking into mobs of villains that would be monologuing at you. Your goal was, as in every other typical MMO, work through raids, work through all the different quests, give yourself new abilities, level up. It was a hell of a lot of fun, and it lasted for 8 years. It wasn't shut down until 2012, which, let's face it, folks, that's a long time in terms of live service games. You've had Cycle Frontier for 2 years, Call of Duty DMZ for a year, or even one day, like the day before. So I was looking at the news while I was eating lunch. I did not expect to see that I would be able to play City of Heroes again in 2024. That's right. NCSoft gave some fan-made developers the license to allow them to run servers of City of Heroes so that everybody can play it. It's called City of Heroes Homecoming. And this is being funded just by donations to these developers, only for what they need to keep it up and running. And it's the original City of Heroes game. I would recommend going and grabbing this game. The link's going to be in the description. Help support the developers for it. Play something new by building your own superhero. Put them in the comments if you guys make some. Let me see what types of superheroes you can make. I remember being 8 years old. My dad coming home, I think it was for my birthday, with a brown paper bag. A Nintendo in it that had released a few years prior. We only had a couple of games on it. We had the Mario Duck Hunt Combo cartridge. We had Wrecking Crew, very underrated game, very good. And Tetris. Couldn't find it, being sick and all, trying to go dig through my closet to go grab my Tetris game. Wasn't gonna happen. But I can tell you this is a game that I just played constantly. It was a game that I even got on my Game Boy when the Game Boy came out, and we'll play that constantly. Well, just before Christmas, a kid that goes by Blue Scooty was filming for his YouTube channel. He was playing Tetris, and he actually beat the sucker. He was able to get as far into Tetris as you can and lock the game up. Because remember, 1987-ish, yeah, the coding couldn't handle a lot of what you can do now. He actually locked the game up, and he is the first person in 35 years to beat this game. The 8-year-old me is screaming out because this is the game that I tried to beat. You just couldn't, and you play a whole lot of it. This is an impressive feat. In 2024, we could say that a 13-year-old has beaten Tetris, locked it up, and beat the developers for it. So kudos to this kid. I've put his YouTube down into the description. Please go show him some love. Every child's dream who grew up with Tetris wanted to be able to pull this up. He's the first one to do it in 2024. All right, folks, a little bit light on news this week, but that didn't mean it was light on games. So let's jump on into the gauntlet and see what games that I was able to play over the holidays and in this week. Hey, small surprise. I'm a board gaming fanatic. If you've got a strategy game that pits you against the odds and you got to make really strategic turns, I'm right at home. Game came out a few years ago. There's a 3-player co-op game that pits you into the fantasy world of Farul, where you have to take turn-based actions with your friends or with yourself. You can do it solo as well. And you were fighting against the odds, trying to figure out who killed the king. RPG, completing quests, walking through a campaign. It was a lot of fun, and we put a lot of hours into it. The sequel to it came out recently, where it has an expanded story, tons of quality of life upgrades, the proper co-op being 4 players. And so my buddies and I just had to jump in and give it a whirl. You're building out your band of merry adventurers that are going to take on one of 5 different chapters. There's many different classes, a lot of them are unlocked as you play the game, and I'm playing the Hunter, because Robin Hood. All different sorts of cosmetics, you've got loadouts on how you start your quest that you have to negotiate with each other on who's going to take what into the adventure. Every single adventure starts off different. The game's played out over a hex-based board, so there's hex-based movement with your typical action points to let you determine what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. But what's real neat about it is it's based on dice rolls. Every action, every quest, every decision, it's a roll of the dice. And there's all different types of stats you have that tells you which types of dice you're going to roll and how many of them you're going to roll and what your percentage of success is on each of those dice. Quests are diverse. Everything from getting money to getting new items to giving yourself XP to level up, and every single one of them has a countdown. You have to complete them within a certain amount of time. The goal of each campaign is to level up, get better gear, explore dungeons, and then follow the main quest to the end. Anytime a party member dies, you'll lose a heart. Lose all your hearts, game over. But in addition, you've got time limits on the main quest that can either be game over or make things harder with all different sorts of chaos that can happen. And there's random events. They happen on the map all the time. Monsters spawn. They change during a day-night cycle. You may run into carnivals. You may run into shrines. You may run into all different types of events that change your gameplay as it goes. You've got ways to make it easier. You got your traditional potions to give you buffs, herbs to heal you in and out of combat. So there's a lot of ways to mitigate a lot of the RNG that comes in the game. You've even got different abilities and traits that can be earned from the equipment that you gain while you're playing through the game. Fights are turn-based. You have to plan out your attacks given the abilities of the enemies, and you got to make sure you're not trying to get in the way of each other or cause yourselves any sort of harm. Not saying I did that, but I might have done that a couple times. These are your typical D&D rules that apply to the counters that happen, the effects that happen, and honestly, some of these effects are complete BS. As you win fights, you get loot or mimic. Mimics are there, and some of the loot you get is out there, but it's super powerful. Some of the loot that you get is lore, and this lore is what you use to unlock new starting items, new classes for you to play with, and some of the cosmetics that you use in your run. Each campaign can take a little bit to get through. One took us roughly around 6 hours to get through. Now, granted, it was our first time playing. We were explaining things. We were going through mechanics. But they can be pretty lengthy, so be prepared to either take the extra time you have or save games and prep accordingly. 5 total campaigns with replayability due to all the variability of the gameplay. This is a lot of hours of fun. It can be played solo, but I highly recommend playing it as a group because it's more fun to talk through things and strategize who can help who can take what items, and how you can make it through each one of the quests. This is like sitting down for a game of D&D, but the DM is automated for you. So that's how we approach this game, and we had a lot of fun with it. The game already has a roadmap for it, in which the developers have said this year they're going to give it an infinite dungeon mode and the Bard class, which is going to be fun and troll-worthy. And next year they're going to add more campaign. So if you're looking for a fun next game night with your friends, I recommend For the King 2, Happy Dungeon Crawling. Have you ever thought to yourself, why can't there be raft in space? And I want to ride a train instead of the raft. I want there to be space whales, and I need the story to harken back to the days I used to watch Stargate SG-1. I want to shoot them Nazis in the face. No, just me. Well, this is where Voidtrain filled that gaping hole in my soul. This is still in early access, and it came out a few years ago. But Voidtrain can be summed up as a procedurally generated survival, train building, automation building, resource gathering, co-op adventure. You're engineers that found themselves sucked into a triangle Stargate and land smack dab in the middle of a floating train platform. Typical survival mechanics where hunger and water help with your health regeneration. You've got to get all the resources you can find anywhere, but it's the way that you do it that makes this game unique. You're floating. You're attached by a rope back to your train that you can use to pull yourself back to your train as your train is going. And you gotta jump on off, take a leap of faith, and go get all the different types of resources that are floating around the train to help you craft, help you eat, and help you level up your adventure. The creatures you encounter are of a completely different world. They take these things right here that are like slugs. You can shoot them, or you can snap their necks and give you meat, or an entire package of seeds. Don't worry about it. But you've got ones that are going to attack you, attack your train, break your stuff. So you need to protect your train against the forever forward movement into the abyss. Your initial goal when starting this game is to build out your train. You're researching blueprints, you're crafting different machines and engines to help you on your quest towards survival. And eventually, as you're moving your train forward, you're gonna come upon more Stargates. These warp you into what I've deemed the world between the worlds. These worlds add to the story, not just from the setting, but also from being able to see why are you sucked into these strange dimensions. And they let you figure out why these Nazi bastards are invading as well. Through these Stargates, you're gonna be collecting more resources or improvements from each of these procedurally generated areas. You're gonna fight the Nazis, you're gonna play pig-based slot machines, or even build out and upgrade your train. You're gonna go from gate to gate to gate through different areas, through different world between the worlds, collecting resources, leveling up, progressing the story, and that's the kind of loop that you're gonna go through. And yes, there are train battles. This is the Wild West of space, folks. Now, we haven't gotten to them yet. We've seen this pop up, as you're seeing now, and I can tell you I have seen the action firsthand, and it gets insane. It's like a bank robbery happening on a train. You're fighting back and forth, shooting each other. A lot of fun. Cannot wait until we get to it. Recently, the game added the automation update. This is allowing you to actually automate some of the manual tasks real quick. So see this little cute seal cat space thing? You give it water, it's gonna bamf around like Nightcrawler all over the place, and it's gonna automatically pick up objects that maybe you didn't see or maybe you didn't get. I'm not saying we're gonna put about 10 or 15 of them on the back of our train, but we might put 10 or 15 on the back of our train. Honestly though, folks, this game has a lot of potential. It has a proper level of co-op, and I'm gonna say that multiple times, 4-player co-op or more. The devs are still in early access. They're adding a lot to it. They're listening to the community, hence the automation update and some of the other things that are coming out. You want a game in which you're doing things like Minecraft or Raft or any of those types of games. If you like those, why not go pop onto Steam, pop onto the Epic Store, check out Voidtrain. I think you're going to find it's fun, and I'm pretty sure we're going to bring this one back around in the rewind later once we get to some of the more exciting, fun parts. I think this is going to be worth checking out in the future. Staying on the realm of very strange themes, there was a game that I stumbled upon that absolutely hit the mark. That's by the granddaddy of first-person shooters, 3D Realms. In my search for roguelikes, and yes, I said roguelikes, I actually stumbled upon a game that has a bit of a twist on how you get your guns, how you level up, how you progress through this first-person shooter. and it's called Ripout. Let me set the stage. You're in space. There's been an issue where most of the colony has been wiped out, and you and up to 2 buddies try to make your way back to the home world to figure out what happened. Yeah, it's only 3-player, but it's still fun. You have multiple sectors to work through, each with multiple missions. These different missions are like your roguelike paths, allowing the variety on what you're doing and the chance to unlock different types of blueprints and resources. As you gather resources, you can craft your blueprints, unlocking more loadouts and armor, and the armors have actual stats on them that are used in your next mission. The unique twist and main theme of this game revolves around your pet gun and the weird creatures that are upgrade guns things that you pick up during the mission. Let's start with the pet gun. It's your main weapon in the game, and it can be a sniper rifle, a shotgun, or an assault rifle, but it's also your way to scan the environment. And you use it to attack enemies, to stun them, so you can whoop house on them. It's like a creepy alien Swiss Army knife made for folks like me. The gun can also collect other weird creatures throughout the level and give you alternate abilities, so rocket launchers, shields, healing beams, all different types of stuff. But don't think you're the only one that can do this, so can the enemies. So it's kind of a push-pull against who has better abilities to square off with each other. While you're on the missions, the roguelite elements come into play because you find different nodes that give you different choices of different abilities. And these are only for that mission. So this is a one and done as you're doing the mission. Create your character along the way, giving yourself different abilities. It can be everything from exploding pets to faster reloads to making sure you can run faster through the level. You will create your specific set of abilities so that you can tackle that entire mission together. Mission types are diverse. You've got everything from fetch quests to killing enemies to escorting payloads to collecting sorts of things. And once you've collected everything you've got, jump on your ship, jump out, rinse, and repeat. Additionally, during the mission, you've got revive spots that help both if you're playing solo, as well in the case if your buddies can't pick you up during a firefight, you've got a spot that you can revive. This is a game we were pleasantly surprised with. I mean, while it's the dreaded 3-player co-op, there's enough action and variety that's going to keep you entertained for hours. Again, it's in early access, but they've got a lot planned for it. Everything from new weapons to new abilities to new map types to new mission types. They're still adding to this game, and they're releasing pretty frequently. I recommend if you're into first-person shooters and you want a little bit of variety while you're playing, keep an eye on this one. It's on Steam, plenty that you can do it in right now, so if this is your bag, pick it up. And finally, it's time to talk about a game that has seeped right into my I just need to play one more run type of games. Tiny Rogues looks like a game that I installed in my 386 back in the 90s. It's a pixel-based RPG, bullet hell, gotta do one more run type of game. I literally can't get enough of it. You start by picking a character class, of which there are a lot, and you will unlock a lot more as you further progress into this game. Each class is wildly different from each other, from the abilities you get, the strengths they have with the different weapons and armors they can pick up, and the passive abilities that help shape how you're going to do your run. You start each run with nothing on you. Basic RPG stats, looking to find the better gear to get a wilder and wilder build, making yourself into an OP character. That's simple. You get 2 choices. Pick a door, pick a prize. Go through said door, and usually you fight a bunch of monsters trying not to die in the process. It's a click-based shooting game with your mouse, where you're doing a dashing mechanic that gives you a brief invulnerability to get out of the way of certain shots as it gets insane. If you win, you get a prize. Pick the next level, move on. There's 10 floors that you have to go through, and at the end of every floor, there's a boss. The boss has 2 different phases. Each phase gets harder from the last, and there are a ton of different bosses that you're going to be fighting. If you beat the boss, you get a currency called souls, and you're going to choose from 3 different prizes to move on to the next level. Every single time you move through floors, you're going to get a chance to spend the souls at a bonfire, and it can either heal yourself or add to one of your primary stats like stamina, health, mana, or attune items, because some items need to be attuned before you're going to be able to use their powers on them. Oh, and speaking of items, they can get wild. While you've got your basic fantasy tropes of armor and swords and wands and bows and that like, you've also got sets like Diablo, weird clown suits. You have got guns. You've even got cards to make yourself into Gambit. Along the way through your adventure, you're going to encounter events. You're going to encounter taverns where you can buy new items, heal yourself, get booze, get potions. You even got an underground black market that gives you crazier items like those guns I mentioned and items. And what's neat is as you're picking some of the different doors, you're going to get different types of food items, pears and meat and cake. And each one of those actually levels up some of your primary abilities. And the more you pick up, the closer you get to leveling. When you level, you're going to be presented with a bunch of options of abilities. And these different traits are wild. They are everything from fire is going to cause meteors to show on the screen, or if you're a warrior, going to get a berserk mode if you get a certain amount of crit. All the traits are different based on who you brought in, and they do synergies across the different builds that you have. Sounds complex, sounds like a lot of stuff, sounds like a lot of RNG. If you don't like the RNG, they fixed that. They added dice. These dice can actually let you re-roll everything from the rewards you're getting to the different paths you can go down. So it's a nice added extra level of controls so that you don't have to worry about the RNG every time you play through. Eventually though, you're gonna die. The game's hard. And unless you have an overpowered build with different types of synergies, the enemies are gonna get too hectic to live through and off you go. But fret not, this game has got a ton of meta progression. You're going to spend more and more points as you play that can do things such as give you more health, give you more revives, start with different loot, and even change up the RNG that happens on some of the floors. Or you can be a masochist and use what's called cinders to make the game harder. That choice is up to you. There is a lot to love in this game and a lot to keep you going back to it. And the music is banging. Listen to this. This is my type of music, folks. But honestly, this was a surprise to me. I was not expecting that I would love this game. It ticks all the boxes. And if you want to see a full run, I actually played it on stream this week. So just go check that out. You're going to see everything that has to do with this game and just how much fun it can be. Ignore what this game looks like. Promise, if you're looking for a meaty experience that is a roguelike and is going to make you come back over and over wanting to play another run, this is the game for you, Tiny Rogues. And that's about all the time we have for this week, folks. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you had fun learning about everything that's going on this week. I had fun doing this, including all the editing so that you didn't see me sneezing. If you liked what you saw, please help the channel out. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Those help, they're free. Put a comment down below. Tiny Rogues, do it from behind. That's right, put that down there. Let's talk in the comments. Want to see what you guys have gotten to the end. Want to see what you guys think of all these videos. I appreciate all the help and support as you guys go through. If you want to see when I go live every Thursday night on Twitch, on YouTube, always playing something. So come hang out if you guys want to see this stuff live instead of just in video form. On that note though, it's time to press pause. We'll see you next time.